Mr. Prime Minister, today we work to fulfill our duty, bring our countries closer together than ever before. Tonight, under the stars, we celebrate the spirit that will sustain our partnership, the bonds of friendship between our people, to the future that beckons all of us. Let us answer its call and let our two great nations realize all the triumphs and achievements that await us. Cheers.
And you thought the presidency was just turkey pardons. You have to still go through state dinners as well.
Unprecedented number of turkey pardons.
Unprecedented, indeed. Yes, we've learned about that. The addition to the lexicon. Phil Musk, a Republican strategist, joining us today. What do you make of the president's attempt now to explain this, what he's doing in Afghanistan? Going to speak before troops at West Point, trying to show exactly what the costs are, but he's got a difficult explanation to try to make to members of his own party and to the country as a whole.
He does. I mean, the real challenge here is on the left in his own party, and I think it's good that the president's going to go make this case and articulate this case. It's a case that needs to be made. He's obviously facing a lot of pressure on his own flank. I think, by and large, if the framework that you've seen kind of leaking out here in the last couple hours or so roughly represents the approach the administration is going to pursue, I don't think you'll see a lot of. I don't think you'll see the Republicans in a partisan way really kind of criticize the president. I would not advise Republicans to criticize either the venue or, the process. At the the president is facing a lot of pressure from a variety of different fronts, and on this is an area where I think partisanship should be left at water's edge, and I suspect that's the tone you'll see Republicans in the Senate and the House take.
Which is not what we've seen. I mean, the partisan divide has only deepened since Obama has taken over the presidency, and we see it on these huge bills like the stimulus bill and healthcare. I mean, there's just been no Republican support for this administration whatsoever. They've not been able to reach out across the aisle. And as you're just discussing the politics, he will desperately need the Republicans on board with him. So is it that you would advise Republicans, let's just not play with this, or would you actually advise them to embrace Obama and sort of prop him up a bit in this moment?
Well, I think there is a unique opportunity here, but my sense is what you'll see is Republicans will, by and large, support the president's request for additional troops, and that's a wise and, I think, smart decision. Obviously, I think the Republicans generally believe that we should really be leaning heavily on the commander's recommendations in the field. In this case, if we see 34 plus another 6 or some odd from NATO, couched in the context of a holistic plan that accomplishes a diplomatic aim, really focuses on kind of a stable, a stabilization platform, and then an exit strategy. I think this is an area where Republicans can find some common ground. On the domestic agenda, it's just a totally different.
I was going to say, just like healthcare, you can go Republicans. Although we're going to be back at healthcare next week. The Senate's going to take up debate in earnest on the healthcare bill. Joe Lieberman this week made very clear public option is a non-starter. We posed this question earlier in the week, and I'm curious in your take. If you're the White House now, do you give up on Joe Lieberman, maybe some other Democrats who were making similar noises, and go strong at, say, Olympia Snowe, Susan Collins, and cater to their needs, and first bipartisanship, but also 60 votes? Yeah.
Good question. I mean, this comes in the context of all the other pressures that the White House is dealing with. And, the clock is the enemy. Obviously, it's not just Joe Lieberman. I mean, there are other members of the. I mean, ironically, if you look at what's been the, I think probably the real kind of governing thorn in the side of the Obama administration through the first year of his presidency has been the left of his party, not the right. One could argue that ceding the decision about how to bring this whole debate forward on health care to the House of Representatives and framing it in the way they did for the American people ultimately has led us to a very politically problematic situation where independents have, universally fled in their support of this president. So obviously this becomes a game of political jujitsu by amendment that'll happen on the Senate floor over the course of the next, 30 to 60 days. The clock is the key thing to watch. Obviously the politics within the Democratic caucus and how Leader Reid chooses to stagger out different amendments to gauge his support on a variety of different issues will, I think, ultimately be the ticker tape that will tell the tale of whether health care reform happens as we know it.
The ticker tape. Before you go, I want to get your thoughts on this RNC proposal that's being sent around to a lot of RNC members, this quote-unquote purity test. Is this a healthy thing for your party to have a proposal where I think now 40 current members of Congress would not be able to abide by this purity test, 40 Republicans. Certainly Mike Castle in Delaware, Mark Kirk, key Senate recruitments. Is there any chance here? You have about 20 seconds to answer.
Well, there are a lot of good people who are putting forth good ideas. My personal view is we've got a party platform that the convention votes on every couple of years, and that's a chance for the, the grassroots base of the Republican Party to talk about what we should be for. I've also been in the position where I've had to run a big political committee and party committee, and flexibility is an important thing. So my sense is at the end of the day, this resolution represents a lot of intensity inside the RNC, but ultimately doesn't pass.
And not necessary.
I'm going to pass on that.
Okay.
All right, Phil Buster, Republican strategist, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. That does it for us. Click us on again on Monday.
We'll be back on Monday, and in the meantime, I'm enjoying my new mug. I hope you do
for the
as
mugs,
well,
Rick.
David.